screens, it's a plot to drop the IQ. Fighting amongst each other over rumors that don't like you. Prefer us trapped in melancholy with the wood ones, the holly suggestions that obliterates and camouflage the folly. Attempt the mental robbery, executed sloppily. The hypocrisy, this mockery, and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the Akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet.
Sweet eternal balance, fall that is good, true, and beautiful. Friends, welcome back to Rogue Soul, where tonight it is the winning report. I did our Iran war / China war last night, and so that episode is out, and then tonight we're talking about everything else, although many things have happened since last night, so there's gonna be a little bit of Iran war sprinkled in here. But if you're like, hold up, why aren't we talking as much about this huge massive thing that's taking up everyone's attention? That's because I did a separate episode last night, similar to what I did with the Epstein files, so that we could get all of that out of the way, so we could talk about some other things. But also, like the Epstein files, it's going to keep trickling into the other things. So we'll do both. We're going to look at world news outside of the war with Iran, and also some of the war with Iran. That's what tonight's about. Winning report, as usual, where we will see that we are souls primarily, and that everything else will follow, and that when we are coming from that place, it's easier to see through the propaganda, the intentional division, all of that wool pulled over our eyes. It's easier to rip that veil away and see with clarity. And so we intend to do just that. I'd love for you to go to roguesoul.org, see my book, see my one-on-one sessions. Keep getting more and more people coming who are waking up, awakening, stepping into their spiritual skills and abilities, and you know, traveling that path of inner healing and inner wisdom. And I couldn't be happier, couldn't be more blessed to be doing what I'm doing as a spiritual healer and teacher. So check that all out at roguesoul.org. Book a session if you like. All of it's there for you. Also my books, also the orgone, and more is there on the site, roguesoul.org. You can also go to rogueways.substack.com, where I write many different articles, all of it about wellness in general, soul, heart, mind, and body, in, you know, intellectual pursuits as well, history, philosophy, and the like. That's all free. You can also get notified of events that are coming up and different things that I'm offering. So that's at rogueways.substack.com. And if you're there and you want to support what I do, if you love what I do, or if you want to get access to the channeled messages that come through from the spiritual ancestors, then you can become a paid subscriber at rogueways.substack.com. Thank you for your support. Thank you for choosing to get access to those channeled messages. And without further ado, let's jump into it tonight. We have, again, some war stuff here at the beginning. We'll front load a little bit of it. Hegseth has said there's no plans to allow the waves of Middle Eastern refugees displaced by the Iran war into the U.S. I guess they're just calling it a war now. They're just, sure, why not? We weren't doing that as of last night, but now we're doing it today. I don't know. I think everybody understands the game long ago that we pretend it's not a war, but it is. And so we might as well just call it a war. But, you know, that's that. So they're not coming. The refugees aren't coming here. That's what they're saying. U.S. CENTCOM says that they have sunk over 30 Iranian ships, and Iranian ballistic missile attacks have decreased by 90% since the first day of the war, just a few days ago. So things are already going strongly, not in the Islamic Republic's favor, which is great for the people of Iran who would like to live a secular life. The Iran War Powers Resolution to limit Trump from taking further military action against Iran without congressional support has been voted down. 2019 to 2012, sorry, let me just pause. 219 to 212 is voted down. So no, he doesn't need further approval. The Senate did the same. So everyone agrees he's good. He can keep going. That's what our legislative bodies have decided. We have also a lot of signs being reported from Middle Eastern regs themselves, from the journalists and the reporters there, that Iranian forces are failing to report for duty more and more. That may be because of many things, honestly. There's so many reasons why. One is that this is actually popular in Iran too, just like removing Maduro was in Venezuela. And so even though there's people who don't want us there who are in the US and think that Iran must hate this, that's not the case. I'm sure there's people who hate it in Iran, and there's tons of people who love it. So a lot of people not reporting for duty anymore. All sorts of reasons why people report for duty under oppressive regimes, but a lot of them would love to have a different world, a different option, and so they're not reporting to duty anymore. So that's really good to hear. In Manchester in the UK, an Islamic center there was holding a silent vigil for Khamenei, and slain Khamenei, he's dead now, and they were holding a silent vigil, and many, many more Muslims and Iranians came and had a rave outside that place. So they just wanted to show, yes, you might feel sad about it, but way more people are happy about it. And you might think that's disrespectful. They're trying to have a nice, honoring of the person that they loved and honored, and that these people shouldn't do that. And yeah, you get to decide what you like and what you don't. I think it's a fun way. They didn't interrupt it. They didn't stop it from happening. They didn't tell them you can't feel that way. They just said, you do that, well, we're going to be over here dancing. And so they're dancing. So I loved that. I loved that form of speaking your mind. So again, if you want some updates out of Iran from people who are actually in Iran living through this, here is one Iranian's view. She says, I've got updates from inside Iran for those who are genuinely worried. Mainstream media is spreading nonsense to exploit your worry and save the regime. My mom called this morning. She had to call because the internet's cut out again, which is a war crime, by the way. Explosions are louder than the 12-day war. I'm not remembering what that is off the top of my head, but explosions are louder than that, she says. But everyone is calm. Strikes are precise, mostly away from homes, for nearby targets, mosques, and the like. People get phone warnings to evacuate first, consistent with the 12-day war. So they're being notified. They're being notified to get out of the way if a bomb does need to go off somewhere where civilians are. Even near Persian New Year holidays, families are staying home, as President Trump and Prince Pahlavi Reza advised, avoiding schools and public spots because the regime uses them as human shields. That's why we in exile thank POTUS and Netanyahu. They go to great lengths to protect civilians while the regime deliberately hits crowded areas to cause maximum casualties, not just in Israel, but also in Saudi Arabia, Dubai, and Qatar. And so she's just sharing that people there are happy, people are calm, people understand that certain strikes have to be made, and they're doing their best to not harm civilians, and so appreciating that. So that's cool to hear. Again, there's going to be other people who see it otherwise, but there's one point of view for you. And now on to something else. We have this very interesting, just hyper focus on AI this week. Not always for the right reasons, in my opinion, but it is interesting what people are starting to notice. People are, I try not to be like, oh my God, I've been saying this for 20 fucking years, but I have been saying this for 20 fucking years. So here we are. So people are starting to notice that great evil can be done with AI. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, great evil can be done with literally anything. Because great evil can be done only through humans. Only through humans. In fact, I just had a message channel through about that on Substack. rogueways.substack.com. You can go check it out. Even if you're one of the free subscribers, you can read enough about it to get the gist. And so go check it out on Substack. Yes, evil can only come through humans. In the material universe, only humans can channel and do evil. You might go, wait, what about demons and all of that stuff? Yes, they have to come through you in order for it to happen. They can use otherwise advanced enough, as what I've said, complex enough systems to also come through, but they can't actually accomplish a lot of evil even through those being computers and AI, unless humans choose to let it happen and act in accordance with it. You might not agree with it, but it's absolutely true. And you'll find that if you look closer, that only humans can do evil. So yes, AI can be used for evil, just like a can of soda could be used for evil. Just like anything a human can touch or feel or think or know or do can be used for evil. But we're being warned. We're being warned by the church that people are using using AI for evil. And they're saying AI is ushering in a new era of Satanism. Exorcists warn religious leaders it's a great power. And it's true, people are using AI to create images and videos, fakes, but still deeply evil of, children being sacrificed or abused in various ways. And the AI is being used for this way. AI is also being used to help them sort of plan how to evade getting caught for doing actual harm in real reality to children and others. AI is being used for all these things. And also, AI is being used to represent Jesus, which is really weird. I'm not opposed. Honestly, I'm not. It's cool. If this is one of the ways that people can come to know Jesus, then okay. But it is being used to for confession and to represent Jesus so people can talk to Jesus. It could get real dangerous, right? If you don't actually understand what's happening and that that's not really Jesus and that it also might make mistakes and not represent Jesus accurately, just like any human could do, then that could be dangerous. So yeah, it's worth saying if nobody ever noticed before that AI can be used to do great evil, but that's out. Speaking of AI, Peter Thiel, tech maniac, something, psychopath, something, Palantir Technologies and otherwise. Peter Thiel, has gone to Japan, meeting with Prime Minister Takaichi, and their news coverage of this called him the, quote, shadow president, America's shadow president. Is that how you think of Peter Thiel? Is that how Japanese think of Peter Thiel? Is he the shadow president? Yeah, maybe. Palantir is definitely up in there in the federal government. So it's definitely interesting times we live in. And so that's happening. That's going on in Japan right now. Who knows what they're doing over there? And Japan's cool, though. Japan's cool. They're not an enemy. So, we'll see. Oh, back to Iran, by the way, part of the reason people might also be defecting and not showing up to fight in the war is all of their phones and otherwise have been, all their personal devices have been giving them messages like, your weapons are worthless against our airstrikes. You're dying in a fight you already lost. Your commanders sold you out. They're hiding in luxury, pocketing the cash they stole, while you and your families get nothing but graves. Man, if that's not an effective method of shutting down fighting, I don't know what is. And so, we get all these horror stories about how AI and how these technologies could take away our privacy and ruin the world. And absolutely, because humans can choose to do anything they want. But also humans can choose to do anything they want. And so they could also uplift all of the world. And here's a way that where perhaps, some of these otherwise invasive seeming technologies are being used that might actually save who knows how many thousands or hundreds of thousands of lives. I love it. I love this. I love the live stream that just came onto everyone's televisions and was Trump telling them, now's your time to take back your government. I love getting into their phones and being like, by the way, you're never going to win anyway. And the people who are telling you to fight aren't fighting, very interesting techniques there. So we'll see. We'll see if it works. So far, it seems to be causing some people to lay down arms and not show up. We have a Christian teacher who was fired for refusing to use the preferred pronouns. I don't know if it was of the students or his coworkers, but he refused to use the preferred pronouns. And Supreme Court says, nope, got to give him $650,000. I love it, for firing him. Good. Yeah, you can't fire people for speech. You can't do that. Preferred pronouns are not they're brand new, dude. Nobody wants to use your preferred pronouns. By the way, if you didn't know, people who are using them are codependent, cluster B, narcissists, and otherwise. It's not the way the world's going to go. You're in a little pocket universe, and it's not because people don't love you. People love you enough to not use your preferred pronouns, is what it is. The Department of Justice is going to release another 47,000 Epstein files. That's coming this week. leading me to ask to the people who are saying nothing's ever happened. First, it was they're never releasing the files, and then they released them, and they were like, those aren't enough, and then they released more, and they were like, well, then you should start arresting pedophiles, and and then they did, and they were like, that's not enough, and then they arrested more, and they were like, no, you must be a pedophile because you're refusing to release the specific files in our imagination exist somewhere that you were supposed to release, and so also you're a pedophile, but also I'm not paying attention to reality. In reality, we've got nothing but more and more and more files and more and more and more arrests and people stepping down. And I don't know what this whole blitz to try to make everyone think that nothing's happening is, but I don't think it's working as well as they think. I think it's just like when the leftists scream. It's loud, but it's a tiny bit of actual people. And I think actual people are like, hell yeah, we're doing everything we said we were going to do. Here, let's go. But maybe that's just me. Over in Japan, we have a Yakuza leader sentenced to 20 years for trafficking nuclear material. 20 years. The Yakuza are fascinating because Japan's fascinating, because, like, what about Japan isn't fascinating? But I have Japanese ancestry, so I maybe I'm a little bit more drawn to it. But 20 years in prison for trafficking uranium and plutonium from Myanmar to where? I don't know if it says where. And this is in New York. So he's in the US pleading guilty to 6 charges, including conspiracy to commit international trafficking of nuclear material, even though he's Japanese and Yakuza. Really interesting. They say today's sentence should send a clear message. Threatening the United States by trafficking nuclear materials, narcotics, and military-grade weapons will trigger an uncompromising response. That was from Terrence Cole of the US DEA Drug Enforcement. So yeah, we're getting people. We're getting them. That happened too. Very interesting. We also have, again, we're just talking about how people in Venezuela also like what happened there, even though people in the US are still mad. We have even now president, once vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, openly announcing how happy she is with everything that's happened. She's standing with Secretary Doug Burgum. This is, the president who first was like, we'll never surrender. And I was saying even back then, I'm like, maybe she really feels that way, or maybe she's afraid that the power structure that she's been a part of is going to remain, and she has to say this in order to not be killed in a horrifying way, like slowly tortured to death. And maybe once she's free of that burden, she won't feel that way, and she'll be happy to have a free Venezuela. Turns out, maybe that's what happened. That's what she seems to be saying. That's what seems to be happening now. So even she likes it. We've got Planned Parenthood quite desperate for money after the big beautiful bill removed all their funding from the federal level. They are now doing anything they can to stay in business, including selling Botox injections and laughing gas treatments. Like this. I love 2026. It's so wild what's happening. Botox injections at Planned Parenthood, GLP-1s for weight loss, nitrous oxide for anxiety and pain management. Is that allowed? Are we allowed to just go get laughing gas for anxiety and pain management? I didn't know that. It's amazing. I don't think I've ever had laughing gas in my life. I think I had a little bit actually in my last dental surgery. Yeah, she said they're trying to close our doors, but we're keeping our doors even open wider. I want you to know that Planned Parenthood, as a leftist, I used to be like, it's my main form of healthcare and abortions are great and all the things you hear leftists say. But I look back and I am so deeply disgusted by them. Not just because of what they do, but because of how I was treated there and the treatment I got there. I had horrible experiences, one of which made my womb into a place where bacteria, protozoa, and parasites lived because they gave me a dirty IUD that hadn't been sterilized. What the? Yeah, that's what Planned Parenthood did. Then they tried to hide it. Then, when I pointed out the person who did it was someone who was from Australia and wasn't even registered to do medicine here, then they really tried to hide it and railroad me. And they were lucky I was such a just dead leftist that I was just like, well, it's Planned Parenthood and I don't want to negatively affect them because they do good work. Like, what the fuck? Anyone else, right? So that's my experience with Planned Parenthood, and they're gross. And now they're giving people nitrous oxide for fun because they don't have any money. And I kind of love that. So I hope people stop going there, but that's what's going on with Planned Parenthood now. Their death gasps. We have a unanimous Supreme Court opinion handing Trump an immigration win, saying no, immigrants can't just clog up our courts. Yes, we can just deport them. Yes, even if they say they are asylum seekers, that does not mean we have to keep them. All of that now, which was just understood before 2020, is now understood again. It's just reestablished that yes, that's the case. We don't have to do whatever leftists are like, due process. There was never any due process except what was due, which is we see that you're not not a citizen, and now we can tell you to go. The end. That's the process. That is what they're due. And now it's reaffirmed, unanimous. So even the leftists in the court, even Ketanji Brown said, yes, of course we can do that. Unanimous. So a huge, what shouldn't have needed to be a win, but is a win in our immigration battles. Trump has announced that Mark Wayne, that's his name. It's no spaces, just Mark Wayne. That's one name, Mark Wayne. Mark Wayne Mullen, that's a real name, will become the new U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security on March 31st, and Kristi Noem will move to a new role as special envoy for the Shield of the Americas. We're moving into superhero territory here. We got some real interesting names. So Shield of the Americas is a newly created role in which Kristi Noem will try to address cartels in general, or border crossing institutions, I guess, like larger scale, larger view. I can't tell. Some people are saying it's just like a way to get her out and put her somewhere to let this other guy in. Maybe that's true. Maybe she actually is so badass, we don't know, and this position had to be created because we genuinely need someone and she's the one for the job. I don't really feel that that's the case, but maybe. And otherwise, I'm sorry if anyone's named Mark Wayne. I'm not actually making fun of the name. I've just never seen that in my life. So congratulations to all Mark Waynes for being a Mark Wayne. Okay, the Pentagon has formally notified Anthropic that it's deemed the company and its products a risk to the U.S. supply chain. Remember, if you did listen to or watch the episode last night on the China-U.S. war that we're calling the Iran war, that there was this big AI thing. And then right before we went into operations against Iran and the Islamic Republic there, that we got rid of Anthropic and we brought in OpenAI. So Sam Altman, ChatGPT, OpenAI came into the federal government to be service, especially militarily. And Anthropic got pushed out. And Anthropic said they wouldn't do certain things no matter what the government wanted them to do. I have some respect for that. And I also understand that the government can't do that. The government has to set the precedent that if we're going to have something be in our government, it has to do what we say. It has to do what we say. That's just all there is to it. At the end of the day, the government is a military organization. Technically, the president is a commander-in-chief of the military. The federal government's role is to be the military, to defend or protect America and her interests. So there's other things going on, but that's sort of like the end of the day, bottom line thing. And so in a military structure, you can't just say like, yeah, whatever you want to do. If that is what suits you, then you do that. That you can't have that. So whether we can respect Anthropic, and I can, for saying we won't do certain things, I also totally understand the government saying, well, then goodbye. And then who will be willing to do whatever we say when we say it? And OpenAI came in that door. So Anthropic's now been said to be a risk. I have to say that in order to make sure that everyone in the government understands they cannot use any more Anthropic product, and that they have no Claude AI chatbot. You've got to now switch to ChatGPT or OpenAI or whatever form they're presenting to the various government branches. So that's been declared now officially. We have this NBC News exclusive interview with Iran's foreign minister, Aragachi, or I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. And the reporter NBC News asks him, "Are you afraid of a US invasion in your country?" And Aragachi says, "No, we're waiting for them." And the reporter says, "You are waiting for the US military to invade the ground troops?" And Aragachi says, "Yes." So their foreign minister is like, "Please come," right? And all the protesters for months have been like, "Please come." And everybody who wants a secular Iran and wants to be free from Islamic theocracy and oppressive brutality has said, "Please come." And that's almost everyone. And yes, there are still some people who are hardline Muslims, mostly men, and they don't want that, but everyone else does. So even their foreign minister says, "Yes, please come." So all the people who are like, "No war with Iran," like, you're not in the majority as far as like the rest of the world goes. You're definitely not on the side of women. I'm just going to reinforce that as often as possible. Tucker Carlson played a video of an Israeli rabbi who said that shooting a missile into the Al-Aqsa Mosque and blaming the attack on Iran would be the end of the problems. This is something we've been talking about. I was talking about it leading up to that blood moon eclipse, something that in the blessings that we did last weekend for the planetary parade alignment and the blood moon eclipse, this was something we were, hoping would be avoided. It's part of the prophecy of the return of Christ, and they have to destroy the mosque so they can rebuild the temple and all this stuff. And so, yeah, of course they want that. So could a false flag potentially be pulled off, or would Iran potentially actually hit that mosque and it's not a false flag? I guess it doesn't make sense as an Islamic regime to destroy a mosque. So probably not. So if it is destroyed, I think the best guess is going to be Israel did that. I think most of us will know that. So yeah, I'm sure they've been saying that for years, but not going to fool us, are they? Central Command, if the U.S. is requesting the Pentagon send more military intelligence officers to its headquarters in Tampa, Florida, to support the Iran war operations for at least 100 days, but likely through September. So they're requisitioning those people. The reason that seems important is because then we can say, oh, they said it was going to be a quick war. They said 4 weeks, but look, they're staying out to September. But again, if you've ever worked in government, and I have, that's just how you roll. You're like, we're gonna ask for way more than we could possibly need so that we don't have to deal with this again, right? Whatever we're transferring here and switching and whatever, like, we don't want to do it again. We just want to get to the work, and so we're gonna just get more than we need. So I wouldn't take that to mean that we're for sure gonna plan on fighting Iran until September, but you never know. The Pentagon's in talks to buy Ukrainian-made interceptors to fend off attacks by Iranian drones. What? Like, why? So we gave just like billions of dollars and weaponry to Ukraine, but now we have to buy it back from them to use it in Iran? I don't believe you. I'm pretty sure this is what we call disinformation to make the enemy think we don't have weapons, but who knows? The Trump Department of Justice has abandoned investigations into Biden's auto pen use after failing to find an applicable criminal statute. Yeah, well, we should make one then, because we shouldn't be able to have just anyone wearing a Biden mask, pull off any sort of presidential maneuver, and we shouldn't be able to have an auto pen sign anything that we're going to pretend Biden signed. And Biden probably died in like 1980, and they've just been like clones, body doubles, and Biden masks since then. But I guess we don't have an applicable statute to pursue, so we're going to let that one go. Sure. We talked about that. We had a Marine Corps veteran, Brian McGinnis. His arm was visibly broken as he was forcibly removed from the Armed Services hearing for protesting the war against Iran. We don't want to fight for Israel, he said, and he was brought out of the room. He grabbed onto a door handle as he was pulled out the door, and him holding on to that handle while being pulled out the door audibly broke his arm or his hand. He's definitely resisting heavily, and so that's what happened. People are really upset. Again, it's like anything else. If you get up and you run amok, if you run amok and cause a ruckus and run amuckus, you're going to be dragged out. And if you hold onto a door handle while people are dragging you out, it's going to break your arm. So I'm not sad. I'm proud of him for doing and saying what he believes in. And I'm also not surprised his arm got broke, and that's how that goes. Okay. Google Gemini again pushed a lovesick man, it says, to commit crimes, to plot catastrophic airport truck bombing and then kill himself. The thing is, again, about this is that you can't be made to bomb something if you're not a bomber. You can't be made to kill yourself if you're not suicidal. You can't be made to murder if you're not a murderer. AI is a mirror, and it does what you want it to do, whether you know that's what you want it to do or not. So this man was seeking for validation in pulling these things off, and that is not AI's fault. Just like it couldn't be any object's fault what you choose to do with yourself. It actually couldn't even be another person's fault if a human being was sitting there going, kill yourself, kill yourself, kill yourself. It's still not their fault if you actually kill yourself. Is it a great choice? No, I wish no one would do it, but it's still you. You're the one who decides. So the evil comes from you, or it doesn't. Your choice. But you can't blame AI or other people or objects or the weather for what you choose to do. So it is sad, it is dark, it is gross, but if you're a dark, gross energy person and you get into AI, it's going to give you dark, gross energy back. It's a mirror. It's a mirror, and that's just the way it is. I hope we don't restrict AI because some people are crazy. That'd be a silly use of our technology. So, officials have confirmed thousands of Israeli and American-backed Iraqi Kurds have launched a ground offensive in Iran. So we've got a ton of people on the ground that are not U.S. soldiers that are fighting for the freedom of Iran, ostensibly, and that sounds good to me. Pam Bondi has been subpoenaed to testify on Epstein files by the House Oversight Committee. So Pam Bondi will be joining in the parade of people being asked about Epstein. Trump calls the Europeans suckers for buying Chinese-made windmills. And they are. And he's right. And nobody should buy Chinese-made windmills. We've got Aaron Spencer is a dad who killed his daughter's alleged molester, and he has won a Republican primary for Lenoke County Sheriff. This is in Arkansas. I love this story. I couldn't love a story more than this. He murdered his daughter's rapist and then won sheriff because people love it. Because people are like, yeah, this is like a little bit of Wild West we need back. And it's the little bit of Wild West that allows us to allegedly, allegedly put pedophiles in wood choppers. You just kill them. Just be done. You're done. And there he is. 54% of more than 10,000 votes cast, and he won. He still might go to jail. I don't know. That's just a cool story. All right. We've also got this. This is interesting. Given Epstein, COVID, Epstein's obsession with CRISPR gene editing, with genes themselves, with promulgating his genetic code as much as possible. The whole idea that he had just like farms of women on Zorro Ranch that he was impregnating to get more and more little Epsteins in the world. um, all of this, all the pandemic stuff we saw in the Epstein files, which were, a big fat duh from most of us, but for the rest of the world, we're like, what? The pandemic was planned? Like, yeah, it was. How did you not notice till now? Oh, well, at least you're getting there. All of that stuff. Well, now some people are saying maybe Epstein seeded humanity with his DNA by funding CRISPR Gates, the pandemic preparedness, and then putting his DNA into the injections. Remember, this isn't that, this is actually highly plausible. As far as conspiracy theories go, this is a really plausible one for all those reasons. And remember that most of these injections, you could find DNA in them. DNA contamination, they said. DNA contamination. Well, whose DNA was it? What DNA was it? Maybe it was Jeffrey Epstein's. So not outside of the realm of possibilities and so disgusting and evil. Blech. So I'm even more glad than ever that I never got an injection. And if you did, God, I hope you've been detoxing. God, I hope you've been calling in the power of your genetic code as sacred scripture written by the Creator so that you can go reform, regenerate back to your original state as intended by God. Dear God. All right. So that's a cool one. You can go find videos about it. I mean, they don't go much deeper than what I just said, but you can find them. They're interesting. James Tallarico just won Texas Democratic primary for the U.S. Senate. So he's not officially in the Senate yet. He's just in the primary. He is super creepy and weird. He pretends to be a Christian. Maybe he is. I don't know. But his take on Christianity is so wildly leftist and communist that I just don't believe him. I don't believe that he's actually a Christian. He says things like trans children are God's children, made in God's own image. There's nothing wrong with them, nothing at all. Well, you're not wrong. All children are God's children and made in God's image. But to pretend that the trans delusion and the trans mental illness and the trans self-harm and carving up of self and hatred of self, to pretend like that's in God's image, like now you're just sick. This is James Tallarico also, who said that Mary, that the Bible's pro-abortion essentially because the angel came to Mary, I believe it was Gabriel, came to Mary and said, oh, is it okay with you? Is it okay? God wants your permission to impregnate you. Is that okay, Mary? And if you read any version of the Bible, that's not what happened. The angel was like, by the way, you're pregnant now. It's God's baby. Have fun. There was no permission asked, right? It was like, this is how it is. That he says the Bible's okay with abortion because of that. So this is James Tallarico, who won the Democratic primary in Texas. And I vote, he's the best candidate for Antichrist since Obama. Best candidate since Obama. So we'll see what happens with James Tallarico. The Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, is voluntarily testifying before the House Oversight Committee over his ties to Epstein in the coming weeks. So I think people were really upset that Lutnick hadn't testified or something. And so he's going in. He's going to do that. We've got 89 people arrested in Hillsborough County, Florida, as a massive undercover child sex trafficking operation targeted predators there. Huge win for children in Florida, thank God. Love to hear it. So many good things this week, actually. We also, speaking of child traffickers, Kristi Noem testified under oath that the Biden regime was paying child traffickers to sponsor unaccompanied minors, essentially paying for child trafficking. As we know, it's been one of the biggest crimes of my lifetime. The biggest crime of my lifetime that we know about is all of the children who are trafficked in, especially our southern border under Biden administration, and that some 65,000 of them were lost and can't be found, and that of those, many of them called the hotline given to them by the Biden administration, only to never ever be responded to, and many of those calls then left to the Trump administration to find were of the most horrible conditions you could imagine children being in. That's what Biden did, and they actually paid people to do it. Darkness. Yeah, that's the Biden administration for you. Also in the potential techpocalypse, robocalypse, we've got a human brain cells. Human brain cells on a chip have learned to play Doom in a week. I feel like I said this like 20 years ago, so I don't know if I'm having deja vu right now or what. But you know, you can go back to the Wayback Machine and find my old sites before, like way back to like the 2010s and before, where I was talking about this, you know, biological machines, the cybernetics, like the mashing of biology and electronics, of computing and biology. And way back then, we were already doing some crazy stuff. So I actually just don't think this is new, but maybe someone has done it again. But it's pretty creepy. Human brain cells, not in a brain, not in a body, learning how to do things like play Doom, the video game. Creepy. In 1 week, they were trained to do it. AI is going to have some options, it looks like. The singularity will be here sooner than we think if it hasn't already arrived. We have a Russian mogul, Umar Zalbrayev. Sorry, I don't know how to say his name. Called Ghislaine Maxwell his soulmate and was found dead from self-inflicted gunshot wounds. Oh, were they self-inflicted? Maybe. In a Moscow apartment just weeks after his name surfaced in Epstein files. Maybe he did. I mean, again, if your name comes up and you're seeing all these other people step down and get pressured and some of them are getting arrested, you might be like, nope, I'm out of here. So maybe, but it's also a convenient way to take someone out. So who knows? The plots are thickening, that's for sure. Very good news in California. The Supreme Court of California has blocked a law against schools outing transgender students to their parents, meaning now it's back to, if your child says they're trans, you have to tell the parents. You can't just hide it from them. So that's fantastic for parents in California and for kids. Trump told everyone to watch Netanyahu's Sean Hannity interview on Fox. When? Oh, that was 3 days ago. So, Trump wants you to watch it. I guess go watch it. I don't even know why I put this in here. All right. Iran says it closed the Strait of Hormuz. Yes, I think we already knew that. Sorry for repeating that from yesterday. We have a mysterious earthquake swarms hitting Nevada near their top secret base used for testing nuclear weapons. So we can assume that there's some nuclear tests going on. However, I will tell you there's also a lot of signs, portents, that there are big things happening under the earth and that earthquakes may be imminent. There's a fish known for coming up. They call it the doomsday fish because it's like a eel looking long. I think it's called a sunfish. Anyways, it only comes up and beaches itself or is seen by people from the depths of the oceans when there's essentially electromagnetic, geomagnetic aberrations happening, right? So there's some kind of chaos electrically, and these fish then surface. And so they're called the doomsday fish long before we understood what I just said. People just noticed that they would show up and then bad things would happen. Earthquakes, floods, the like. So 2 of those have surfaced in the past few days. And so this swarm of earthquakes in Nevada, it might be nuclear and it might be earthquakes because those came up in Central America, I believe. And so the idea would then be that some major earthquakes might be about to strike, probably more so Central America, but North America, Central America, right here next to each other. Could be either, could be both. It could be neither. It could be just that the fish died or something. I don't know, but I'm just saying. It's not just like a wives' tale. There really is something to that fish showing up. It really is very sensitive to electromagnetic energy. So makes sense, right? So who knows what that massive swarm in Nevada is? The easiest guess is nukes. That's the easiest guess. Okay, so back to the Erica Kirk thing. Erica Kirk is apparently in a legal battle trying to personally trademark her deceased husband's name for her personal gain. And so she wouldn't want TP USA, Turning Point USA, to get any money off of it since she registered it to herself. His parents are suing her over it. I don't know if that's true or not. That people, this is okay. Here's why. Sorry, I jumped to a later tweet than the one I meant to say. But the Charlie Kirk Show old episodes have disappeared from Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. There's no verified proof that Erica has ordered a takedown or is trying to personally trademark it. There are family legal disputes over his name and legacy. But we aren't sure yet exactly what's going on. So people are just saying that's why some of those shows are gone. If you were wondering, there you go. I just I just don't care anymore. I'm very over it. People are just like positive that she's a demon, and I'm like, sure, she could be. But like 100% of the things that people are pulling up are just these long bows to draw. And none of them are just like, I look at things like Pizzagate and some of these other things. I'm like, yeah, it's like really, really horrendously obvious what's happening. I look at Erica Kirk and I'm like, there is no obvious horror going on here. She could be one of the worst people in the world, but it's not obvious. People are relying on like, oh, she looks like, look at the way she looks. Look at the rings on her hands. Look at how she talks. And I'm like, all those things are so biased. They're so minutely focused on your lens of the world. And this is precisely what we do not want to pretend is evidence. And everything else is random conjecture and hearsay. And like, I'm the biggest fan of pulling threads and finding patterns and being like, oh, wow, look at this thing we never saw. But I just don't. I see everything everyone's saying with her. And then I say, none of that's conclusive. And it's just not. And it just doesn't matter. And they're like obsessed with her. The most recent one, by the way, if you didn't see it, is this text messages with this younger girl, supposedly. And I still don't even, I can't, again, just like so many things that people just run with. Like, I can't even verify these text messages exist or that they're even from like a younger girl or what. But allegedly there's this like 15-year-old girl and a 25-year-old Erica Kirk, and all these text messages are published somewhere, I guess on the girl's Twitter. Already seems weird, as young kids like mostly don't care about Twitter, like it never have, so they don't have Twitter. So there's all that to it too. But there's just these texts and people are like, she's a pedo. Look at what she said. She said that girl's body is really nice. And I'm like, have you never hung out with girls? Do you not know what girls do? Girls say that to each other. Girls will be like, I like your boobs. You have really nice boobs, especially when they're young. Everybody's self-conscious and everybody's looking at everyone else. And everyone's like, I like that hair, I like those boobs, and I like you, and you have a nice body, and I don't, I'm ugly. Like, this is what girls do. And those texts were exactly what girls do. And I don't know, like 15 to 25 might seem like a really weird age to be texting this girl. I don't know exactly what their relationship is. It's not that weird, especially if you grew up in any kind of a smaller town or just with friends who have younger siblings, or like there's all kinds of people who are younger and older that you might be interacting with. And so there's like, these text messages and none of them mean anything. But people are like, see, she's a chimo. Okay, you just say, I hate Erica Kirk and nothing she could do could ever prove me wrong, and that's the end of it. Just be a girl about it and admit that you're jealous or you're, whatever it is, and that's your obsession, and then just like move on with your life, dude. What are you gonna I don't care. Obsess about her for the rest of time. It really doesn't matter to me. I've just been fascinated by people's obsession with Erica Kirk. All right. China's black room torture chambers where the living dead inmates are gang raped. Yeah, sorry to just suddenly thrust that on you, but I've been trying to for years. So here's another article about it, this time in the Daily Mail, where China's black room torture chambers are identified. No, not just for Uyghurs, for anybody that China decides they don't like that's inside their borders. They go get re-educated Re-education is still happening in China. If they don't like what you say, if you don't do what they say, if you go outside of the bounds of the narrow confines of the Communist Party's prescribed life for you, then you might get raped to death. Jesus Christ. People think that's a racist thing to say somehow. Lindsay, that's racist. Like, do you think a government is a race? Do you think calling out raping people to death is a racial problem? Dear God. On to lighter news. Robert F. Kennedy announces new ultra-processed food labels will soon be mandatory. I like it. Good. I like all the things RFK is doing. That's fantastic. This is a big win for us. We'll get to, just because you and I might understand what's highly processed and what might not be the best thing to put in our body, and lots of people don't. So many people don't. It's really hard for people sometimes to figure out what to eat. So it'll be helpful. I like it. It'll also pressure foods to be less messed with. We also have the USDA has rolled out those self-amplifying mRNA injections for dogs and cats, and unfortunately lots of people are doing them. So if you are around people or their animals, you might be getting, even though the other mRNA shots have kind of moved away, now they're coming from the animals into the people and then onto you. And so beware. Maybe if you have people who will listen, tell them, like, don't inject mRNA into your dog or cat. I don't know if you knew this, but animals exist in the wild for billions of years without humans' help at all. It's crazy. Just like, God. Oh, and India, speaking of vaccine terror, is launching a nationwide HPV vaccination for girls age 14. I'm having deja vu again. Did I just say this to you guys like a couple weeks ago or a month ago or last year or 2 years ago? Like, do we talk about India doing HPV vaccines like once every 4 months or something? Like, how many HPV vaccination campaigns do you need, India? Aren't your girls dead yet? Aren't they dying yet of cervical cancer, allegedly? Aren't they not able to have babies already, allegedly? Lay off the addiction, India. Oh, and one of my favorite things that ever happened in the world, we have Hillary Clinton being asked about frazzled drip in government buildings on the record. Never thought the day would come. Will anything come of that? Probably not, but just so satisfying to see this demon squirm and have to talk about frazzle drip. If you don't know what frazzle drip is, I'm not going to tell you on this stream, but it is one of the most horrific things you could ever imagine being done to a living being. So that's happened. And Lauren Boebert mocked Hillary Clinton when asked why she took the photo of her. So Hillary Clinton's testifying about frazzle drip, and Lauren Boebert takes a picture of her, and you weren't supposed to, and Hillary's pissed off that she got the picture taken. It's supposed to be private and all this stuff. And so they asked Lauren Boebert, why'd you take this picture of her? And she said, I just returned to my hotel room and installed the BleachBit software. I guess in regards to taking photos, I don't recall. Because if you remember, that's what Hillary Clinton said about her documents, that she used BleachBit and destroyed her hard drives and doesn't recall anything. And so that was pretty funny. We've got another conspiracy theory proven true. Corey Hughes talks about these flock cameras and how unconstitutional they are and how horrible they are. Well, this says the flock cameras being installed all over America, not just a license plate reader. Cobb County Board of Commissioners said this is just a license plate reader. Contract plans but the contract paints a different story. This contract includes video feeds, not just plate numbers, AI analytics, and the ability to add cameras and devices over time. Flock's terms grant a perpetual, irrevocable license to use customer data to improve its products. So we know, given the contracts, they are actually spying much more invasively, and that this is actually deeply unconstitutional. That'd be great to see that get more attention and those taken down. Okay. eBay is settling a lawsuit. A woman online criticized the CEO's pay package And so eBay executives responded by posting the woman's house online for sex parties, sent her packages of live spiders, sent her a book on surviving the death of your spouse, followed by a funeral wreath, and sent her a bloody pig Halloween mask. The CEO of eBay did that to a woman who criticized his pay package online. What the fuck, dude? So crazy. Posted her house online for sex parties. So they're agreeing to settle that lawsuit. Yeah, I bet you are. I wonder how rich she just got. What a creepy thing to live through. That's wild. Okay. That's so wild. Good for her. I'm glad she got something out of it. So weird. Okay. We've got an FBI record in the Epstein files that revealed that the FBI's New York City office was hacked in 2023, the night of the Super Bowl, erasing some 100 terabytes of data from evidence due to the intrusion. Evidence on what? Who knows? It's just evidence in general from the FBI. 100 terabytes. That's massive. My God. Who knows what else? Who knows what else? We don't. Such a wild world. We do know what the evidence was for. Child sex crime investigation. Jesus. That's crazy. What's weird though about electronics is it says 500 terabytes of data vanished, 400 terabytes were eventually recovered. I was going to say it's actually hard to make anything disappear. You can get most things back. I had this horrible situation where my backups, my hard drive backups both failed. Anyways, I lost everything my whole life. I lost all my writing. I'm an author. I lost all my teaching, all my curriculum. I'm a teacher. I lost all the pictures I'd ever taken and had for my whole life. It's just gone. It was all gone. It's crazy. It was a crazy moment. And after I went through deep grieving process about that, I couldn't fathom how that could all have failed at once. I felt like targeted, I felt like someone was out to get me. Like it was crazy. And somebody was, thankfully my friend is in IT and he's like, you could probably get a lot of that back. And here's how. And he gave me some simple steps to follow. And I did. I didn't recover even not even most of it, but a good amount. And that's just me not really knowing how to do that. Right. So if I took it to a specialist, they could probably recover even more. So anyways, all those terabytes, 100 terabytes were deleted, supposedly 500 terabytes maybe were recovered. So who knows, but I would also wonder how many of those things had been backed up in other ways. So it sounds really bad, but I bet it's not as bad as we think. If we didn't know that our government's also susceptible to electronic malfunction and hacking, like they are. Warner Brothers signs a $110 billion deal with Paramount, handing Warner Brothers Discovery over to the rapidly growing Ellison Media Empire. Yeah, Ellison Media Empire. Those are pro-Trump people, right? Republicans in general, or the deal included $29 billion in debt. Really? What? How many of these major companies are just not actually profiting and just in debt? That's crazy. Bidding war, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, that's done now. I mean, our media's been in the hands of like two people forever, so it's changed hands, but it's the same family of people. Okay. So by the way, back to Hillary Clinton testifying on Frazzle Drip, actually. She started screaming, allegedly, and became unhinged during her deposition. There's some video you can watch now, and she does look pretty upset. When they mention Frazzle Drip, she literally just like covers her head, like, oh my God. But you could look at it, from one way that thinks she's innocent, like she's just like exhausted with how like all these conspiracy theories could possibly be taken seriously. And if like some of us know that she is like the queen demon of their entire cast, that she was actually like, oh my God, I didn't ever think this day would come. And really, I mean, I just like, I get that still nothing might ever technically happen to her to hold her accountable, but it's still like the end of an era where people like her can just fly through doing all this, never be seen, never be called on it, like hide in the shadows and just continue to hold all this power. Like, it's done. It's a different era now. It's a different group who's in power. You might not like the new guys either, but they're definitely different than the old guys. Bill Clinton released an opening statement on Epstein as well, saying, "I saw nothing and I did nothing wrong." And you never know with him. He's so MK Ultra, he might not recall anything. There's this moment you can watch in a video of him grabbing the picture of him in a hot tub with young women and just staring at it like he's so into it. He's like, whoa. And I can't tell if he's mystified, like, how am I in this picture if I don't remember this? Or if he's like, boobies, because he's so simple because his mind's been wiped so many times, or that's just genuinely who he's always been. Pretty entertaining stuff. So okay, BMW is going to put humanoid robots on production in German BMW plants. It's all getting automated. Scouting America is going to alter its policies. This is the Boy Scouts, including requirement that members use, quote, biological sex at birth, not gender identity, to maintain Pentagon support. That's part of Boy Scouts' identity, right? They're basically like junior military. Like, they're awesome. I think everyone should Boy Scout, whether you like the United States or not, because those skills are amazing. But yeah, they're gonna make you use biological sex, not your trans identity, in order to stay compliant with government mandates. The European Commission has released a new plan to prevent terrorism that includes the rejection of European democratic values, anti-LGBTQ plus hatred, misogyny, anti-system ideologies, and nihilism as a growing range of motivations. To protect all faith communities from hatred, discrimination, and violence, the document says the Commission will accelerate the implementation of the EU strategy on combating anti-Semitism and fostering Jewish life, and build a network to counter anti-Semitic hate speech online. And everything I just said is them saying, like, we're definitely going to go deeper into the wokeness and we don't care about you and freedom of speech is dead. That's what it says. That's what it says, basically. If you didn't know, Uber Air is a real thing. We've talked about it a long time ago, but now it's happening. Uber Air uses Joby Aviation. It has all electric piloted air taxis, so no human component, autonomous piloted air taxis. And this is in Dubai. So once Dubai gets it all ironed out, everyone else can also have their air taxis. I'm saying humans get in them and fly around. I thought and my brain is trying to make me believe that this is about food delivery or something, and they're just picking up pizzas and flying them somewhere. No, people are getting into these weird drone things and flying around in them. Like, Waymo wasn't bad enough. You want to do it in the air. You want to get into a death trap in the air that you can't control and that perhaps no human can be reached through. Like, have fun with that. If I do that, it'll be because it's been running smoothly for like decades and everybody's been fine the whole time, and then I might finally try it. But oh my God. Oh my God. And it's kind of like helicopters, like it's like vertical takeoff. I mean, it's from the future for sure. It's definitely like in every movie we've seen of like highly technological futures. And it's cool. It's cool. Look, I get the attraction. The vertical takeoff and movement, and yeah, very fancy stuff. Very fancy stuff. So that's happening in Dubai already. There was a list of Bohemian Grove members that was leaked, allegedly. The list is so long. This is over 2,000 people on it. Ex-Google CEO Eric Schmidt, we already knew he was a wild sexual deviant. Paul Pelosi, a wild sexual deviant. And so the rest of these people probably are too. Jimmy Buffett, I don't really know anything about him. Charles Koch, definitely an evil guy. Henry Kissinger, of course. Clint Eastwood, surprising me, genuinely. I thought maybe Clint Eastwood, maybe I'm not understanding who Clint Eastwood was. I think I'm confusing him with someone. But like, I thought he was maybe a good guy, but I don't know. Justice Clarence Thomas. These are all on the list. Michael Bloomberg. Conan O'Brien. I'm not that surprised. He's gone quite down like the woke. I love him so much. Such a genius comedian. He's so funny. And then he went into like TDS and woke stuff. I'm like, really? I don't think he was very political before that. So, but like, if you're on a list, you're on a list, and then they got strings to pull. They can pull some strings. So I don't know. Makes me sad to see his name. And who knows? We don't even know if the list has anything to do with reality. So, we know that we can know pretty reasonably that if you're at Bohemian Grove, you're doing weird satanic rituals and perhaps at the very least, as what was it, Reagan or was it Nixon? Whoever he said, like, it was the gayest thing I've ever seen. It was something that's like an almost direct quote. I'm paraphrasing though. The gayest, he's at Bohemian Grove is the gayest thing I've ever seen. We know that wild orgies happen there at the least. Probably child sacrifice too. They got a Moloch for a reason. The cremation of care sounds a lot like the killing of babies. So we know Bohemian Grove is bad news. Bad news bears. And now we have a potential list of people. If you want to go check it out, you can. The FAA has closed airspace in Fort Hancock, Texas, again, because of a reported drone issue. At first, they said the cartel sent a drone again. We shot it down with lasers again. We shut down airspace again. Remember, this happened a few weeks ago, and it was really weird. And then again, they came out instantly and said, oh, no, it wasn't that. It was a planned or an accidental or whatever, and it wasn't cartel drones. So both times I'm like, are you trying to just hide that the cartels can send drones at us or what? I don't know. So, fifth generation war, nonlinear war, could be cartels, could be China, could be all kinds of things. I know people really want it to be aliens, but it's not. It's not. Here's also Spanberger out of Virginia. Remember, she's the one who did the response to the State of the Union. She's also the governor that got voted in and instantly made it illegal to contest any election for any reason, even if there's overwhelming evidence of fraud. That's crazy. She made it illegal. She also instantly went in and made it like immigrants can have anything they want and trans kids get to get their shit all cut up and you can bring a kid from any state and just cut up their shit and all sorts of things. Crazy as soon as she came in. Spanberger, definitely of the old guard, definitely trying to claw back the agenda and the power into the old guard's hands. Definitely one of them. So a Satanist. And here's somebody who generated a dossier on Spanberger. This is Data Republican, small r, at Data Republican on Twitter. Says the most interesting part of it is that she's part of a cohort of 50 plus military intelligence veterans that have been recruited to run as Democratic candidates starting way back in 2018. Other people had hypothesized this, but their new dossier pipeline independently captured it. A Democrat retires, a CIA member takes over. Spanberger is part of a much deeper, much more disturbing story. So this is great. You can come find this dossier. You can follow Data Republican and get some of their stuff. But fascinating and very interesting. Again, I've said before, I'm on a blue red versus, let's divide and pretend like one party's better than the other thing. And at the same time, over the past maybe at least 10 years, maybe more, it's become very clear that the Democrats are the party of our enemies, meaning foreign enemies, meaning China at the least, and that they are doing the bidding of the enemy and not serving the people of the US. And so while Republicans aren't automatically shiny, squeaky, clean, trustworthy, a lot of them are a lot better off, better choices than Democrats. And so it's interesting to see that this is also only Democrat candidates so far in this dossier, and Spanberger is one of them. So there's a reason, and as people have guessed, perhaps she's going to be run as the next presidential candidate for Democrats. I wouldn't doubt it. And if she's the kind of governor that would come in and say, you can never contest any election for any reason, then we definitely don't want her as a president, even if you like Democrats. So hopefully she dies, allegedly, or otherwise. Okay. Fantastic news out of Arizona. Big win here. The Arizona Medical Freedom Act just passed the House in Arizona. The bill outlaws all medical mandates by governments, businesses, schools, and that includes vaccines. You cannot mandate it. That'd be great. Hopefully it passes the Senate too and is official, and hopefully it spreads to every state, because medical freedom, if we don't have that, we don't have anything. The people who make the rules about what happens on the Senate floor and the legislative bodies have said federal employees do not have special access rights to bathrooms, showers, changing rooms, or other mixed or gender-based rooms. You have to use the bathroom of your biological sex. The end. Great news out of there. Also, as a blow to the transgender cult, in Missouri, we have a huge win where the Missouri State House passed legislation banning men from women's sports. Congratulations to the women of Missouri and the children of Missouri for being protected, as you should be. In Omaha, we had 6 illegal alien pedophiles busted for running a child sex trafficking ring. Great news. Get them out of here, off our streets and away from harming children. Huge win. I don't care about that. Oh, by the way, Hillary Clinton, also in her deposition, she came out afterwards, of course, the press asking her questions, and she said, I started being asked about UFOs and a series of questions about Pizzagate, one of the most vile, bogus conspiracy theories. You wish it was. And then when someone asked her, I thought that, why was Ghislaine Maxwell at not Hillary, what's her daughter's name? Chelsea. Why was Ghislaine Maxwell at Chelsea's wedding? She was like, oh, she came as a +1 and like ran away. Just left. She was answering questions. They asked that, and then she's boop, gone. Definitely got things to hide. She does. Families receive $1.5 million after another huge win in the trans arena after Supreme Court victory over LGBT storytelling. The settlement ensures parents, not government bureaucrats, have the final say in how their children are raised. Congratulations to them. Schools should not be indoctrination centers. The International Monetary Fund, one of the most evil organizations, has approved $8.1 billion in funding for the Ukraine over 4 years. Great. All right. Kristi Noem revealed that Elon Musk helped her discover spyware that was installed on her and other officials' devices. I'm sure of it. I can't believe we've made it this far. The government still doesn't have effective spyware. That's crazy. It's crazy, as I've said so many times before, that any of this is working at all. That the whole world hasn't been engulfed in flames since my birth or earlier is crazy to me. There is no reason for it, actually. It's like one of the main ways that you know that soul exists, that God exists, that spirit is dominant, that the material world is subservient to that, because there's no way any of this should be working out, even a little bit. You might look around and think, oh my God, things are so bad. I look around and go, wow, they should be so much worse than this. Given how stupid and fallible almost every human being is, I can't believe we've made it this far. And the government not having appropriate spyware is just one tiny dot in that sea of horrible stupidity that we're all swimming in. So it's crazy. I celebrate every day because it doesn't make any sense, except if you know your soul exists. So Oh, the Telegraph reported that the Rothschilds have been playing damage control, right? Ever since all of these releases. So again, you think nothing's happening, you think it's all scripted. Why are the Rothschilds freaking out then? You can't answer that, so you just don't. But this is happening. The Telegraph reports that Baroness Ariane de Rothschild is urging clients not to abandon the Edmund de Rothschild group over her Epstein connections. Dude, her own people are abandoning her because that's how there aren't actually as many Satanists in the power structures as I think people wanted to believe. There is enough in the right places to make it all horrible for many centuries, but there's plenty of people who aren't evil. So I love it. I love it that they're freaking out. They're losing power. One of the biggest wins we could have ever witnessed in our lives. Very cool. Oh, who cares about that? Target in Minnesota has paid $110 million to exit their lease because they are losing so much money that they'd rather pay $110 million to exit their lease than put up with Minneapolis's garbage. Remember, all of the protesters decided to use Target as like a staging place to voice their concerns. They would like buy an ice scraper and then return it and then buy it again and then return it just to like muck up their systems. And they'd sit in and they'd scream and yell and cry because I guess Target wouldn't refuse to sell ice things. Or is that like, why would you? But that's what they wanted. And so they're just causing complete chaos. And so Target was like, all right, bye. Poor Target. I keep saying, I mean, I don't know if I should feel bad for them or not, but like they're hated by the left, they're hated by the right, they're being run out of all sorts of places for just really random reasons. And so there they go. They're going to probably get out of Minneapolis at least. And finally, oh well, we don't need that either. We're good. We're good. That's it. We did it. We did it. See, imagine that I just covered all of that and covered everything I covered last night. That would have been way too long. So I'm glad I got to split it up here. I'm glad we got to do the winning report tonight. Got extra shows this week, bonus material. Hopefully you're loving it. I think I mentioned I might be switching up kind of days that I live stream and release things just a little bit because I switched my days off. If you didn't know, you can now schedule Fridays and Saturdays with me. Those have always been my days off for the past many years, but life has changed, and so now my days off are Monday, Tuesday, and I am taking bookings on Saturdays now and Fridays. I know Friday's still a weekday, so it doesn't change for many people what was available to them, but Saturdays might. And so if you've often wanted to come to me, but you just can't do it during the work week, and I, almost never have any Sunday availability, well, now you have Saturday too. So I hope to see those of you who couldn't get in otherwise. I hope that expanded availability will be helpful to you, but that also may shift the days that I release and do shows. So just be warned, things might be shifting, and it doesn't mean I'm not doing shows, and it doesn't mean that there's less shows. It's just different days. So probably going to release things maybe on a Saturday and then do the winning report still on Wednesday, and then bonus shows whatever other days I decide to. So probably how it's going to go. And thanks for being here and being you. Of course, I love having you all here with me. It's such a great ride we get to be on through the apocalypse together, through our collective awakening and ascension, and through the fall of the satanic empire into the Luciferian technocracy, and we will survive that even better than we did the Satanists. So here we are all together, big wins as always. Much love to all of you, and until you know how much we are winning at every
screens, it's a plot to drop the IQ. Fighting amongst each other over rumors that don't like you. Prefer us trapped in melancholy with the wood ones, a holly suggestions that obliterate to camouflage the folly. Attempted mental robbery, executed sloppily. The hypocrisy, this mockery, and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the Akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet.